Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you, and we're going to definitely encourage you today. Today, we got the one and only Mr. 200. I'll tell you what, I've had the chance to just spend some time with this gentleman. He's amazing. He brings a lot of value, and it's no small feat to be an Olympic athlete. I think it takes, special training. It takes a special person, and this person is definitely training. He's a brother, just had a lot of great things to say about you. Curtis, my man, Mr. 200, welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, man.
Daniel, man, thanks for having me, man. I'm super excited and just happy to be here.
Man, I'll tell you what, I know the amazing individual you are. I had a chance to spend a lot of time with you in Clubhouse, just doing some rooms and getting to know you even more and more. But can you do me a favor and introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show?
Yeah, so my name is Curtis Mitchell, currently a professional athlete. I'm going into my 11th year, world bronze medalist, USA national champion, attended Texas A&M University from Daytona Beach, Florida. I just had a birthday. I'm 33 years old, currently training. I'm also a business owner. I have a construction company here in Tallahassee, Florida. And I also work in sales for cellular sales. Verizon's #1 authorized dealer. And yeah, man, that's a little bit about me.
Man, what I love about you is I see some of your workout on IG, and I'm like, man, I get tired just watching one video. I'm like, I'm ready to go home. And so let me ask you this, because I truly believe you have these, I call them the $1 million habits, right? You have this millionaire habits. And I say that because to be a national champion, there's so much competition out there in the 200 race in as far as the track and field. What does one person do to prepare for such a feat, to even go out there and attempt to run against these other, right? We're not talking about high school kids, college kids. We're talking about the elite of the elite. What does a person have to do to really prepare mentally? Because I think as you prepare mentally that way, I think it transfers over and runs into other areas of your life. So what does Curtis Mitchell, Mr. 200, do to prepare to become, right, that year you won the national championship? What goes through your mind? How do you prepare for something like that, Curtis?
Yeah, so I think it just starts with that burning desire to want to be the best and take on a challenge. You know, this work starts in the off season. You know, the race is won first in your mind. You know, we're playing that race over and over and having that burning desire to know, like, hey, man, I want to be with the best in the world. And I have such a burning desire to maximize my potential, my talent, and be amongst a special elite group of people in sprinting. Once you get to that level, you want to seize that, you know. And I think going into a season, I look at it as a challenge, you know, so putting in that hard work on a daily basis. I often tell people, fall in love with the process and the results will always come. And I'm a process driven type of person. Like, I love getting up at 3, 4 a.m. I love tapping into my morning routine. I love listening to the podcast. I remember when I first got into the pros, like, I had real life experience before it was a Curtis Mitchell, or let's take it back to junior college when I was, you know, in junior college in San Diego, California. Nobody knew who this kid was from Daytona Beach, Florida. No scholarships. I didn't have any major scholarships, so I had to take the harder route. God took me the road less traveled. And I look back at it, that's what molded me into a champion. That's what got me on the podium. My early years of having to grind, having that chip on your shoulder, feeling like, man, these guys don't understand. You know, all I need is a chance. Looking at these other guys that's doing this and having that why not me mentality. If God gives me breath in my body and I got 2 legs, this man puts on his pants just like I put on mine. I'm more of an individual that gets inspired because I'm like, man, it's like a playground out here. You know, it's literally like a playground. If I have an opportunity to do what I love to do by putting in the work, and by the work, I mean, you know, discipline is rewarded. I seen this early on. Even if I'm at a Division I or a junior college level, if I'm practicing harder than the next guy and I translate over this into the meet, and I'm looking up and I'm like, wow, I'm beating these guys. So if I keep doing this, let me cut off the friends. Let me not hang out with the friends anymore that's doing all the things that's going to distract me. Let me focus in on watching YouTube races, being a student, being a student of the crowd, being inspired, saying, hey, man, like, look at what these guys are doing. And I think, you know, when I watch like a guy like Usain Bolt, you know, I'm in junior college, sleeping on the garage in San Diego, California, trying to earn, you know, my scholarship to the next level. You know, I had to win the 100 and 200 meters 2 years in a row. The only man the second man in California junior college state history to do that feat. You know, I did these things because I was hungry. Then when I got my opportunity at Texas A&M, I took this mentality of, listen, we can't take this for granted. We don't have time to, excuse my French, piss away our opportunities because we're not focused. We have to be focused. We have to work harder than the rest of these guys. You know, I had to challenge myself. When I got to Texas A&M, I was like, well, if you have any goals or any thoughts of going to the pros and racing against Usain Bolt, you seen what that guy did at the 2008 Olympic Games when he hit his chest running 9.6. That stopped the world. So me in my world, if I see a performance like that, and this is what I want to be on, if I want to be on the world stage, you saying, okay, that's the animal that I eventually got to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
boom,
so,
baby. Yeah, and you know what? I love what you're saying because you're dropping so much wisdom right here. Let's kind of reflect, ladies and gentlemen. This is the part of the show where I tell you, Curtis is dropping some massive wisdom. Mr. 200 here. We're going to address him as Mr. 200 because that's what he specializes in. But he's dropping so much wisdom. Get out your pen and paper. There's a part of the show where I tell you, get out your pen and paper because he's going to continue to drop massive golden nuggets. I want you to write down what we're talking about. What you write down, you retain a lot more of the information. So take notes, journal this down, and really just listen to this episode like you're going to teach it because it's going to really impact you at a deeper level. You said let's kind of go back a little bit because you dropped so much wisdom right here. So many people want the results, but they don't fall in love with the process, like you said. How does somebody, or how did you fall in love with the process? Because I think everybody wants the instant gratification. Everybody wants the results. I say it a different way, right? I said, when you take responsibility for yourself, the results will show up. But I love the way you said, right? When you fall in love with the process, the results will show up. How did a young Curtis fall in love with the process that the results showed up? Because I mean, everything you're saying is massive, massive wisdom here. I'm loving it. So how did you fall in love with it, right? Because people say, well, I can't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't wake up at 4 o'clock, but once you do it, you get used to it. Everything else falls in place. I mean, that's what happened for me. But let's talk about what was your experience through this? How did you fall in love with the process?
And this is such a great question. And I think falling in love in the process for me is, you know, I think having a support system is key in falling in love with the process, because you understand what comes easy won't last and what will last won't come easy. So when you win a race and when you get to the highest level of the definition of a true champion is the grind that comes with it. You know, and the way I'm built, you know, as an individual, I'm going to tap in mentally more than the next guy. Like, that's my greatest skill set is my mind. So if I'm seeing the difference maker between whether it's sports or whether it's success, period, you know, the successful ones do what others won't do. Discipline is rewarded. And I had sports, track and field was given to me by God to show me that life principle, because that's the key to everything. Once you have that key, once you have that skill set, it doesn't matter whatever you choose to put your mind towards, you're going to be successful in that, because you cannot run away from the hard work. You must fall in love with whatever you're doing. I fell in love with track and field. I wanted to go out and practice my skill set. I wanted to practice my technique. I knew that I was running on raw talent. And I think that was also that I got excited because I was winning races. I was doing such amazing things just simply by making minor adjustments in my life. But to me at the time, it was big. Like, for instance, not hanging out with my friends, being more focused, having a coach that believed in me, telling me, hey, man, you have the potential to be at a whole nother level, or this can take you to a whole nother level if you focus in and look what you're doing. You know, the results started to show on a daily basis. And eventually the small wins, you know, start to add up. And that's the principle that at every level was taught to me. You know, we focus on how can we win today? If you maximize today and win today, so if I'm I'm going to practice, I want to focus on having a great practice. If my coach has a time in front of me, if I'm hitting these times, I'm seeing my performances get better, my skill set get better. So this is the process. And at the championship time, my body has put in all this work, all the blood, sweat, tears, all the practices, the times I didn't feel like going to training or I had a bad practice, but my ability to wake up and do it again and still be inspired and not discouraged, that was the key. Because a lot of people, either you get discouraged from defeat or you let it motivate you and you just come back again. And that's the key, is not letting these things, these setbacks, mess with your confidence in your skill set and your ability. And for me, I seen it at every single level. And at the professional level, I was rewarded with a world bronze medalist. I was rewarded with being USA national champion, #1 ranked in the world. And I still feel like to this day, I haven't even tapped into my potential. And that's why I'm able to be patient with myself, put the right team around me in real life, regardless of whatever the world thinks. And then when it's time for God to call my name again for me to go back out there, boom, another bomb will be dropped. And then I'm having fun.
Boom, baby. Come on. I love what you said, though, because so many people, one thing that you said is this, is one thing that you said that I really love is the fact is that you made a decision to let go of some of your friends. You saw that you saw the results. You saw that the results were showing up. The small wins were stacking up. And then you made a decision that, guess what? I can't be going out or hanging out with these people, with the masses, because the results that I want ain't going to show up because they're affecting me. And I see one of the decisions that I made, I feel that really that God said, you got to change your proximity. You got to change the people around you. And it was hard. I cried. I'll tell you, there was a moment when I started my motivation speaking career, and I was in the middle, and I really wanted to go back and gravitate to, they were like brothers to me, but I knew that I had to let go of some of those friendships, even though it hurt. I cried. I mean, as a grown man, I cried. But doing that, I really felt that releasing those relationships and not letting them go completely, but pushing them to the outer circle to make room for the Mr. 200s and the people that God was bringing into my life to take me to the next level. It was hard. Why do you think so many people struggle with that? And how were you able to cope with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with it, because of fear of the unknown or being comfortable and, being heavy influence. A lot of people rely on other people to think, and they get a lot of their decision making from those around them. And anytime it's time to change, I think a lot of people fear change. So, but for me, again, when I left and it was just me, it was just myself and my thoughts and my decision making, I understand what I put into the universe, is going to give it to me, give it back to me in fold. So cutting off the people that's not aligning with my mindset and my goals, it's really it really comes down to what matters most to you, and you are the company that you keep. And that's true. And as you continue to mature and get older, you understand the importance of having the right people around you at all times, because that says a lot about your thoughts and what you're thinking and who you value. So, and now it's all about, I like to call myself, I'm trying to have be in a position where I have a board of advisors, of people that I go to that I trust. So, and I look back at the people who made decisions opposite of me and they're not, where I'm at today or, headed down that direction. And I just want to be inspired, man. I want to be inspired. I want to be around like-minded individuals because I understand once you have that type of team around you, the sky's the limit. Everybody's pouring into each other. Everybody's inspired. Everybody has a story, right? We all have things that we're going through, right? But you either use it as your downfall or you use it as your motivation, and once you're around your community of people that speaking the same language as you, that just changes your world. And I just think like the ultimate goal, regardless of what, life itself is a blessing. So if you truly want to live a blessed life, you have to be mindful and be around the right people, that's speaking that same type of language. So
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying because it's so true. Because, ladies and gentlemen, think about this. Think about what relationship do you have right now that isn't serving you, or maybe it's you have those dreams, and maybe you say, I'm going to go and try out for, think about what Curtis went through, Mr. 200. He didn't even get a scholarship to go run at any junior, not even a junior college, but he went on as a walk-on and he made it. And then he became an Olympic. Let me tell you, an Olympic runner, athlete. That's no, you know how many people try out to make the Olympics and they don't even make the tryouts because they lose. So what he's saying, he's lived it. He's walked through it. But he had to let go of relationships that weren't going to help him to go around, that weren't going to help him to go to the next level. And sometimes as a human being, you need to make that hard decision as your own responsible person. You need to take responsibility for yourself today and ask yourself this: am I making the right decisions for me, or am I trying to people please everybody around me? Am I trying to people please? And this is the bad thing about this, Curtis, that I see is so many times we try to please our parents or our mom or our dad or a family member, and we share our dream, our vision. Imagine if you would have shared that when you were younger. You know what? I'm going to be an Olympic runner, an Olympic athlete, and they would have been like laughed at you, like you didn't even get a scholarship, but you didn't allow that to hinder you. You use that as fuel. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to use that as fuel right now. What dream did God give in you right now? There's power in your dream. But if you let other people put the flame out of your dream, you're never going to be who you were truly created to be. And there comes a time where you got to walk in that gifting, walk in the talent that we all have a talent, walk in that talent of what God gave you. And Curtis was crazy enough to believe in his dream, and he made it to the junior college. Then he won the national championship, and then he went on there. He became an Olympic runner, an Olympic athlete. Let me ask you this, because people hear, well, yeah, he made it. He's doing good. Of course, he's all cheerful now. But when was there a time on your journey that you lost your confidence? You were like, man, like, because I truly believe that those days that break us are the days that make us. When was a day that you were like broken and you lost your confidence and you said, man, it tried you? And what did you learn about yourself at that time, Curtis?
To be honest, it's not one specific day where I ever said I lost my confidence. I never lost my confidence in myself. It's just a lot of life happening, and that happens throughout the whole process. I constantly have challenges in life happening, and it's been tough. It's been a lot of dark days. A lot of times, even this span of 4 or 5 years, I haven't competed. This to me is considered a storm. And I've been tested to the max. I've been through a lot of adversity. I've been through a lot of setbacks, disappointments, you name it, and I've had to be strong, and my will has been tested. But, I often say this, and I kind of sum it up with this: you never know how strong you are until strong is all you got. So again, anything that has happened to me, I always rely on my confidence in myself to get through it, knowing that this is worth it. I've already been through the early tests in my life to know that what don't kill me make me stronger. And I've already got the tools to navigate and get through it. As long as I keep walking with that faith and true belief in God, I mean, I can live with the results, because I know every single day I'm just going to give 100%. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect at all. This journey, and that's the thing. Anytime, people tell their story and they hear these stories, I mean, it sounds good, but like anybody, man, I'm out here doing life. Life is happening to all of us at the same time. So, it's a lot of it's like chess, and I see it as a challenge. I keep growing, but yeah, it's been plenty of times that I've definitely been tested, and I just simply had to ask myself, is it worth it? I know it's not going to be like this forever. I'll keep that in mind. I always keep that in my mind. Like, whatever I'm going through at the time, this is just happening right now. I'm already 10, 12 years ahead of what's going on. So that's the confidence. And that's what I stick to, knowing that I'm a strong-minded individual, because end of the day, the strongest muscle in our body is our mind, is our brain. You have to control that. And I'm feeding minds positive every single day, podcast, reading, knowledge, keeping myself submersed into what I'm doing, growing. And I think during those times where I was absent from the track, I just utilized my time to submerge myself into personal growth, focusing on my health, reading, being inspired, gratitude. Those are the keys to sort of get through those down times or whatever. You just see it from a whole different lens.
I love that, right? What comes to mind, actually, my wife has a saying. She says, she always tells me this: don't let one bad moment define your day. Don't let one bad moment define your month. Don't let one bad moment define your life. And I think so many of us, we allow one bad moment, and we take that one bad moment as our whole life, and it's not. It's just, it's either going to grow you, it's going to make you stronger, and like you said, it either becomes, that one bad moment either becomes our tombstone if we think negative, or it becomes our stepping stone to our next level of greatness, to our next level of excellence. And that's the attitude you got to have, right? That's the millionaire mindset, that they overcome that. And you have to really think that way every single day, and the more you really think that way, then, like you said, Curtis, the results show up. Do me a favor, look into the camera right now, talking to the mic. There's somebody out there that feels like giving up. They were an athlete. They had all these dreams and aspirations, or maybe they got let go from their job because of just the economic turn with COVID and everything else. Speak some life into them. Take about a minute and just give them a word of encouragement, because you've been through that moment where you had to push through those dark times, and that's what made you a champion. That's what made you the champion you are. Can you take a moment and just speak life into the mic, please, for about a minute or so?
Yeah, I would just tell anybody who's going through a trying time right now to stay focused. Use this time to, work on yourself, submerge yourself in a personal growth, listen to audiobooks, listen to successful people. What are you feeding yourself on a daily basis? Understanding that success is not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it, and this is what's required. And all, it's just a process. And understand, once you get through this, it'll make you stronger, it'll make you better. And that's what I did. Anytime that, I'm going through a period, or any type of setback or adversity, it's only the strong survive. And I truly believe that. So, whatever, comes easy won't last, and what will last, won't come easy. So I say to anybody, who's looking for that, inspiration or motivation, just keep having confidence in yourself, understanding that, God is always with us. You walk by faith, walk not by sight. And that's just the mindset to have, during any time, somebody's going through something, challenging, or any type of adversity.
What is the best advice you've gotten in your professional career?
Ah, man, the best advice I've gotten.
It could be two things. It could don't You don't have to tune it down to one. But what is the best advice you've gotten in your, what, right? What took you from that junior college athlete to that gold medalist? What would you say are two words of wisdom or advice that you received?
Yeah, just really just enjoy the journey. Just really enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process. Don't take nothing for granted, and just understand how blessed it is to be in this position, to be doing this at a very high level, and for me to go, I look at the greats. I have a mindset of a great, and I think what that means is, doing this at a very high level for a long period of time, consistency, and you look at the Tom Brady's, LeBron James, Usain Bolt's, all these great guys who've been great over a long span. And that's what I want to tap into, especially at this next part of my life. I'm 33 years old and I'm in the best shape of my life. It's still the mindset, it's still the things that I do. People don't really truly understand or grasp how hard I really work in real life, on top of everything else that I'm doing. It's not to, train to post pictures on Instagram. I'm really having the mindset of, I still have unfinished business. And keeping that elite level mindset just keeps me elite as a person. And I thank God for that. And I will always, track and field will always have a place in my heart because it taught me skills outside of just running 19 seconds. The way I attack my life, the way I attack my health, just my personal growth all stems from the discipline that I've learned and accumulated over the years of my running career. So, yeah, man, it's just a blessing.
I love what you're saying, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but you've said it a couple of times. And I agree with you, because so many times I think I've taken things for granted. And I think what you take for granted, it eventually leaves you. Right? Whatever you take for granted, eventually it'll leave you, because there's no gratitude, right? There's no gratefulness in there. And I'll tell you, when I almost lost my wife, it really opened my eyes to, man, did I take her for granted for many years? We'll be married 25 years this year. And I think it's like gaining weight. Nobody wants to gain weight, but one day you wake up, you're like, crap, how did I get here? Well, those little undisciplined days got you there. And I think so many times, well, we're grateful for it at the beginning. Maybe after a month, after a year, we take it for granted and we don't appreciate it. How do you stay in that state where you don't take anything for granted, Curtis?
Yeah, that's a good question if I'm being honest. And that's something I'm still, trying to work on and perfect. And I love what you said about your wife. And that's a great analogy. And I have often talks with, my parents now, and I think that's the next part of Curtis Mitchell as well, because you're so right. Just really living in the moment. And I think once things are taken away from you, obviously you have time to sit and reflect on how much this thing meant to you. And that's what happened, with track and field, sports, obviously, people around me as well. That's why, now I got to focus on more of, because it became a time when I came into sports, trying to make a name for myself, I had to sacrifice, a lot. I put my whole life into training, trying to be the best in the world. And that has its cons, you know, lack of family time, personal relationships, things like that suffer in the pursuit of greatness as well. And I think the key to that, because there's always a key to, new levels, new devils. That's something that I live by as well. And I think finding that key of balance, knowing how to pour into others around you, knowing how to keep them fulfilled as you, continue to thrive, and looking at it like, okay, well, God put you in this position, but now it's up to you to put everybody else around you in position as well to know how to communicate and keep you full as well. So I think, that's the challenge, and not sort of taking these things for granted. So, it's more of a challenge for me to communicate better, to do better, to know better time management, to check in with loved ones, to have better relationships. And I think once I figure that part out and continue to grow in that part, it's gonna make my running way better when I return to competition. It's gonna make my business career, skyrocket and things like that. So, now that I'm seeing, things are happening in my life, blessings are coming. And that's a result, being more grateful for things, being more, in the moment and letting my team and people, my support system around me know how much I appreciate them and new relationships. So
No, I,
definitely.
I I love what you're saying because it's easy. Like I said, it's easy to take things and situations and people for granted because what's here today may not be there tomorrow.
Right.
Let me ask you, what is the best advice you can give to Daniel Gomez today? Right? If you have one word of wisdom that you wanted to share with me and the show, what would it be? What's something that's really you live by, you've taken to heart, and you live by that? What would be your best, whether it's life or business advice? What would you say?
What I would say is stay on your path and your journey to becoming your best version of yourself. Stay on your path to becoming the ultimate Daniel Gomez, and because once you do that, that's what we all want. We want to reach our full potential. You don't want to look back having any ifs, ands, or what's about it. You are already in your purpose. Clearly, you're successful. But even I'm sure in your life, the others you may be at a level, but it's even levels to where you're at even now. And get to that level. Stay inspired. Keep growing. And your network and your world. I know it's totally different. And where you've come from, it's a blessing and an honor, man, to be talking to you and having this conversation. I'm truly humble and grateful even had this time. So I definitely want to see you, reach your full potential. And that would be my advice to you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I always have. I do this corporate training where I say, think about it. We're here hanging out. We're eating milks and cookies. And what happens if we just leave and we forget about the milk and we don't put it away, and then we come back into the room and there's still some cookies there, but can you drink that milk? And you're like, no, why? Because it's spoiled. And then if you drink it, it's going to poison you. And so many of us, we have that potential that we don't use, and it poisons us because it gets spoiled inside of us because we never really go for our dreams. We never really stretch our imagination. We never really go after those things that we want to go. And that's the hidden potential that we all have. So I love what you're saying. And if you don't use that potential, how does it poison you? It poisons you because you feel unhappy, you feel unfulfilled, because you know inside your heart that there's something else inside of you. You know you were born for more, but you settled because you got that title in your job, which doesn't pay you a lot, but you got the title, so you're stuck in entitlement. Or maybe you know that you should have taken that opportunity, and you're living in regret. So that regret takes that potential and it poisons you. And then you just, you live in that regret, you live in that condemnation or the guilt, right? You're like, man, like you said, what if I would have done this? So I think you're right. I think we all have that potential that we can go to the next level. And I love what you're saying, man. I'm loving spending time with you today. What is a scripture or a quote that Mr. 200 relies on in times of adversity? What is a scripture or a quote that you, Mr. 200, rely on?
And no weapons formed against me shall ever prosper. That's an easy one for me, and I think that's, has always been my go-to when you think about what that really means. No weapons formed against me shall prosper. Meaning anything that's thrown at me, we see that as a challenge. That's the time to learn, grow, and move forward. Always forward thinking. And when you have that forward thinking, you never become a victim. You don't have a defeated mindset. So regardless of whatever's thrown, I can overcome it. Any challenge, as long as I got breath in my body, I mean, that's what God put us here for. God's children, we're protected from the Almighty. So, no weapons formed against us should prosper.
I love that, man. That's awesome. And last question before we end the show: where did the name Mr. 200 come from? I was going to ask you that the other day when we were talking, but where did Mr. 200 come from? Of course, you run a 200 meters, but I guess to let the audience know, right? Where did the name Mr. 200 come from?
Yeah, it was literally just that. Me being a 200-meter runner. After I got the bronze, you had people in my hometown saying Mr. 200. That was a big iconic moment. Me bringing the medal back to the United States, to my city. After I got the keys to the city of Daytona Beach, Florida, people just, start calling me Mr. 200 in my personal circle. So it was kind of amongst family and friends, one of those type of things. And I just kind of roll with it on my Instagram handle. It's not, so it just stuck, when during that time, that I was able to, make history.
Well, I love it, man. I like it. Mr. 200, Curtis, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you, my brother?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Mr._200. I'm on Twitter, Mr. Mitchell 200M. Find me on Clubhouse as well, Mr. Mitchell 200M, Curtis Mitchell on there. And yeah, those are some of the places you can find me. I'm on Facebook as well, Curtis Mitchell.
Man, I'll tell you what, I've enjoyed this time with you, Curtis. You're a blessing, brother. You dropped so much massive wisdom. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this episode once we edit it and cut it back, and just really, because you dropped a lot of wisdom. I think my biggest takeaway was really just right. What comes easy doesn't last, and what lasts doesn't come easy. You said that 2 or 3 times, and that really spoke to my spirit, because so many times as human beings, we want everything to come easy, but what comes easy doesn't last, ladies and gentlemen. But what lasts doesn't come easy. So think about that today. Reflect back on the notes you took on this episode. And man, thank you for joining us again. This is a wrap for this week's edition of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. If you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, and you need help, go to danielgomezglobal.com. That's danielgomezglobal.com, and send us a message through there. We want to definitely help you give our free assessment. And better yet, go to the makingsofamillionairemind.com. That's the makingsofamillionairemind.com right now. Get our new course, 27 powerful modules that are going to transform your life and help you develop that millionaire mindset. It's very, very affordable for the return you're going to get. That's the makingsofamillionairemind.com. Go out there, and we want to see you here August 26th and 27th in San Antonio, Texas, at our next Sticker Shock Speaking Academy. If you're an aspiring speaker, we want to see you here. Until next week, we're going to bring you another epic guest like Mr. 200. Once again, thank you, Curtis, for being here with us. We'll see you next week, everybody, on a Daniel Gomez Inspires show. Woo! Let's go.